A lady was offended when I didn't look at her daughter today. What ridiculous things have strangers said to you? In a bar, I was standing in line waiting to be served by the bartender, just spacing out, hands in my pockets, waiting for my turn. Two guys are behind me in line. One comes up to me acting angry and says, "Did you steal his wallet?" pointing to his friend. I look around thinking he can't be talking to me, and he repeats himself, "Did you take his wallet?" I said, "How could I take his wallet? I have both hands in my pockets and you guys have been standing behind me." He replies, "Well, you better not try." Then they wander off to another part of the bar. A couple years ago I was serving a drink to a black woman, and when I handed it to her, my hand didn't touch hers. Then later, my manager came up to me and told me that the black woman came up to him and said that I was xenophobe because I avoided touching her. When I hand someone a drink, when they grab it I don't let go, just stare meaningfully into their eyes. It really deepens the connection between bartender and customer. My brother and his wife were visiting my wife and I in DC about 2 years ago. We had sat down on the patio of a pizza joint for lunch when my brother, offhandedly, commented that he hasn't seen any bums around DC. This was rather odd to him as he's from Chicago. His back was to the sidewalk. It was at that very moment that a bum walks up behind him, taps him on the shoulder and blurts out, "Boogie, boogie, boogie," giggles and wanders off down the road. I would have given that bum some money just for being comedic. I was waiting for the bus at midnight one night. I had my hood up cause it was chilly and I was on my phone. Out of the corner of my eye I see this guy walking towards me. He beelines straight for me and says, "My girlfriend is gone." I said, "That's sad." Then he asks me to touch his shoulder and I ask why, and he says for strength. So I touch his shoulder and he continues on. Bus stops are strange places. He wanted your life force. When I worked as a waiter at Outback, one of my customers asked me what I thought about lesbians. Before I could answer, she pointed at her daughter saying I'm trying to convince her that it would be fun. Maybe she wants her daughter to date other girls so that she doesn't have to worry about her kid getting knocked up. My girlfriend and I were walking downtown and we arrived at a crosswalk the same time as a woman probably in her 40s. My girlfriend, being outgoing and personable, smiled and said hello to the woman. She then began to quiz us by asking us simple US history and geography questions. What's the smallest state? Who was the first president? Things like that. She walked with us asking us questions until we got to our restaurant and then she went on. We just looked at each other and laughed. Maybe she was on her way to take her citizenship test and was freaking out about it. I was working at a perfume store when a man started asking me why I wasn't in law school, because I have no interest in law whatsoever. He sprayed a perfume tester on me so he could smell what it would be like on a woman, then asked what skills were even necessary to do my job and if I thought I was smart enough to go to law school. Then he went on about how disappointed my father must be in me. Oh, and before he left he gave me his card and wrote some random guy's number on it who I was supposed to call to make something of myself. TLDR. Customer sprayed perfume on me and told me to go to law school. He wasn't just a creepy guy, he was definitely a creepy guy from the future sent back to make sure you go to law school. I was crossing in front of a car when it started to inch slowly towards me. I started walking double time to get out of the way of the crazy driver when the lady in the passenger seat rolled down her window and yelled at me for not using a crosswalk. We were in the middle of a parking lot. I was at a club once and this hot young girl came up and started grinding on me for about 10 minutes. She was about 19 and I was probably 23 or 24 at the time. After a song ended, this older guy comes up to me and tells me that she was his daughter and it was her birthday today, and to make sure I take good care of her. This left me in a state of complete shock and confusion that this girl's parents would actually say such a thing or even come to a club environment with their daughter. She ended up going back to her table of her friends and family and I stayed away the rest of the night. Little do you know that is her mating ritual, and you are now married. Was at Books A Million and this mom told her daughter, "You don't want a book, you'll be a boring person like that man," and pointed at me. I was offended that she said I was boring, but I was complimented that she called me a man. Christmas Eve, standing in line at the last remaining Blockbuster video in the entire world, this weird older dude holding a baguette cuts in line ahead of me. It's almost Christmas, so I ignore the cutting. But then he starts talking to me. Him, I mow lawns for a living. Me, polite nod. Him, I go over to cut these people's lawn and they have these two giant dogs, like a rot and a lab. Big butt dogs, and they have crap all over the lawn. At this point, I'm just staring at him open-mouthed because I'm not used to strange men holding baguettes talking to me about dog crap in Blockbuster video, and apparently my shock is taken as encouragement to continue his weird little story. Him, so I can't mow the lawn with all that crap on it, so I go around scooping up 20 pounds of dog crap and have nowhere to put it, so I dump it all in this Christmas box I have sitting in the back of my truck and finish my job. Then I go over to the grocery store across the way to buy my baguette, and when I get back some butthole has stolen my dog crap right out of the back of my truck. And now I have to find something else to give my ex-wife for Christmas. He then looks around him in surprise and states, where the frick am I? I don't even know why I'm in here. I'm not buying a video, and he leaves. TL. DR. Weird guy with a baguette cut in line at Blockbuster to share a dog crap story with me, then left. Thus ended the video rental business. Not with a bang, but with a box of dog poop. I was casually flirting with a girl whilst working behind the counter at my store. Nothing heavy, just a bit of joking around while the store was quiet. My boss then came down and asked me to go into the back and do something, so I say goodbye to the girl and go back to work. Crazy girl throws the drink I just sold her on the floor and starts shouting, "I just wanted to be freaking nice, frick you." Dodge that bullet before it was even fired. I've had my very own experience of crazy mother scared of strangers around her kid. Yes, I'm a male, but I was also with a girl I'm dating, so it was kinda weird. We were walking on the subway dock and we passed by the mother and little girl, maybe 3 years old, in a stroller. We stopped and waited for the subway about 10 meters further and realized the little girl was completely turned around and looking at us. So we waved at her. She smiled and waved back. That's when her mother placed her body between us to make sure her daughter couldn't look at us anymore and looked at us defiantly. The frick is wrong with your kid having fun waving at strangers? Happens to me all the time. If a child waves at me, I wave back and always smile. I'm a 32-year-old guy though, so of course I'm hankering for a raping. I work in the produce department of my local grocery store. Once, I was stacking bunches of bananas on the banana table when a sweet-looking old lady approached me. As it sometimes is with our produce department, all the bananas we had were inexplicably overripe. The lady noticed this and asked me, "Are you sure you don't have any other bananas? Possibly more green ones?" I told her we did not. She then asked me to scold the bananas for being so ripe, and told me to tell the bananas to be greener. Not wanting to hurt her feelings, I maintained a perfect poker face and scolded those goddamn bananas. So I'm on a tube train, absent-mindedly staring at the ads and the blackness through the window. The train stops and a woman gets on. She's wearing what appears to be a one-piece swimming costume and trainers. WTF when reading the next section, keep in mind that the woman looks about 45-50. She crouches down in front of the newspaper reading man opposite me and says, "You're going to make love to me." He promptly flips and stammers something in disagreement. So she turns to me, "How about you?" I reply that I'm in a happy relationship and don't make a habit of make love to crazy people on public transport. She sits on the seat at the end of the row and cries loudly until I get off. Cries loudly until I get off. You Brits are a sick lot. I was in retail as a teenager. I was working at the cash when this guy came in, found a movie to buy, walked over to me. "Does something smell like crap to you?" he asked. "Nope," I replied. "Well, I guess I just crapped my pants." That was it. He paid for the movie and left. Worst pickup line ever. I ride my bike a lot and recently had a car drive by and a female voice yells, "Freaking and I'm white and there's not a brothel anywhere that I can see." People confuse me. I was walking down the street in Chillon, which is a lake resort type of town. We're both white and probably looked like skaters. Mid-90s. A car drives by and the person inside yells, "Frick you blood N" or some crap. We were the only ones around. It felt awkward. One day I saw a Paula Deen magazine at the store register. The photoshopping on the cover made her look like a cartoon, so I showed my wife and we had a good laugh and proceeded to check out. This lady comes up and asks what the joke was. I say, "What? Want to tell me the joke since it's about me? We were laughing about Paula Deen because she looks like a cartoon. See? I show her the magazine in question because she looked skeptical and she apologized profusely. Really thought you were gonna say Paula Deen happened to be behind you at the store. Most strangers I meet do not believe I am in college university. Whatever. I'm used to it. It's just part of the package of being 5 feet 1 inches. Either way, I was once in a store totally minding my own business as I looked through some lingerie. All of a sudden, I hear a small cough from behind me. Imagine one of Umbridge's freaking annoying little coughs from Harry Potter. I turn around to find an employee standing there with her arms crossed, putting on her best sassy voice. This grown woman actually tells me, "Nah, honey, already." I can feel my cheeks begin to blush as I stammer out a "What are you talking to? You heard me." The B employee walked away, leaving me speechless. Never before had I been chastised for looking at bras. I tried to look for a manager, but I was unable to find anyone to complain to. No one deserves to be put down for looking at items as necessary as bras, even if they are hot. Frick her. I was walking down the sidewalk yesterday and this guy walking toward me said, "Look, it's Harry Potter." I am a freckled redhead who looks nothing like Harry Potter. At a McDonald's near campus with a friend, a dude walks in with his kid and the kid is staring at us for a while. The dad notices and says, "That's Harry Potter and Spider-Man. They're on the university soccer team. Now stop staring like you've never seen white people before." Guy on the bus asked me if I worked out. I'm a slightly chubby female, and if my boyfriend was going to treat me right for Valentine's Day. I said I didn't have one, so he gave me a packet of lined paper he said he found. Best Valentine's Day present ever. I had a girl I had never seen before walk up to me once and say, "You are henceforth relieved of your boyfriendly duties." Then she walked off all official like. Sleep dating. It's more common than you think. Last year a man came up to me in Target and said, "I know this sounds weird, but you've been in my dreams since I was 10 years old, except you had blonde hair and you were 3 inches shorter. You're going to be my wife. Meet me in the parking lot if you believe in fate." My roommate was with me and thought it was hilarious and wanted me to go meet him. Nope. The poor guy was probably waiting out there with a hacksaw and some hair dye. To think, he almost had the girl of his dreams. I pulled up to my delivery job and parked. Random guy comes up to me, gets within inches of my face, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "I'm going to suck your dong," and looked me in the eye till I walked away. I was speechless. I grew up in the city, and one friend of mine had always been a country boy, so when I invited him down to my hood to hang out he was apprehensive, thinking he was sure to get mugged or something. I thought his nervousness was pretty funny, and got him to come down anyway. We were out at a crowded outdoor shopping area, and he ducked into a store while I took a phone call outside. After a few minutes he hurried back out of the store and whispered, "Dude, we have to go now." I asked him what the matter was, and he told me that there was some crazy woman following him around the shop, and that he had lost her long enough to sneak out. "She thinks I'm Leonardo DiCaprio," he hissed. What I responded, sure that he was trying to put one over on me. He was blonde and somewhat good looking, but his resemblance to the actor stopped there. Before he could answer, a middle-aged woman with wide eyes and a chemical smile stepped out of the shop and made a beeline for us. She approached my friend and stopped a few feet away, as if he had an aura she did not want to cross. "Oh, you are so beautiful," she sighed. "It's such an honor just to breathe the same air as you." "I'm not Leonardo DiCaprio," my friend muttered. The woman laughed. "Oh, you're so sweet. Could I just touch your hand, please? We have to go," I said sternly. "Have a nice day. This is a most wonderful thing," she said, as we turned and walked briskly toward the crowd. We thought she might follow, but she stayed glued to that spot as if she knew that once she left, her life could only go downhill from there. We never saw her again, and I could never get my friend to visit me in the city after that day. She stayed glued to that spot as if she knew that once she left, her life could only go downhill from there. You, sir, have a sense of literary drama. Nice. I was walking down the street and an old woman reached out for my face. I flinched, of course, and she said, "I won't bite." She then stroked my goatee and said, "Oh, it's very soft." She then walked off and I just stood there trying to figure out what the heck had just happened. TLDR. Strange old woman stroked my face. Thanks for the TDLR. Sick. That was getting a little long. I had a customer at a restaurant I work at overhear a conversation I was having about running. She told me my insides were going to fall out of my tea someday from running so much. Apparently this happens to every woman. There was a medical myth that lasted till the 70s or so that women were incapable of running marathons because their ute would fall out. Of course, uterine prolapse is a real thing, but less likely to occur in physically active women. I was working at Blockbuster when I was 17, restocking DVDs, facing the wall when I felt hands go down my calves. I froze and looked down to see a large black woman rubbing them and she said, "I love hairy legs." Behind her was the guy she was with. He had a weird approving smile and laugh. I politely awkwardly said thank you and smiled. There's just some things in life you're just not ready to react to at the time. Yawn with your mouth closed. A man in San Francisco yelled that at me as I was walking down the street, yawning. Not sure how to do that, sir. Give advice with your mouth closed. Okay, a few years ago I was out with friends in L5P. We are smoking in front of a strip mall, and a homeless man approaches us on a bicycle with a mini deep fryer on the front. This is Georgia, y'all, and asks for a cigarette. We give him one and he joins the conversation. Eventually my interest in visiting Ecuador comes up, and the man immediately interrupts me to say this: "You gon' get violated. They gon' kidnap you, put you in the flesh trade, and you gon' get violated. Then when you get AIDS, boom. 2 bullets in the back of the head." After this he turned away and didn't say a word to me for the rest of the conversation. As he rides off, a thunderclap hits out of nowhere, and a guy runs out of the store across from us, stolen shirt in hand, then gets jumped by 5 guys and dragged back in the store. TLDR. Atlanta. Almost wrote a children's book about Atlanta. If you give a hobo a cigarette. I once had a man wearing only boxers come up to me on the metro and say, "Dang, B stole my pants. Can I have $1?" I was at a bookstore, perusing the shelves and texting a friend, when an obnoxious lady started complaining to her daughter. I can't remember what it was, but something along the lines of how people just spend too much time on their phones. Her daughter came up with the response, "Well, I do that a lot, too." So I internally roll my eyes and continue to look at the books when I hear a noise coming from somewhere near me. Like any other person would do, I glanced around to see the source of the sounds. Turns out this lady had another daughter, who was very obviously autistic. It took me a brief second to realize who was making the noise, and realize why. So of course I did the polite thing and quickly averted my eyes back to the books as soon as I realized the noises were from an autistic child. The mom makes sure to exclaim, to no one in particular, though aimed at me, "And if I see someone staring at child's name one more time, I'm going to lose it." You'd think they'd never seen an autistic kid before at that point. She was making much more of a scene than her daughter, who obviously couldn't help it. So she puts an arm around her daughter's shoulder and says, "That's right, child's name. You just hum as loud as you want." I have very rarely been so angry at and offended by a stranger in my entire life. Okay, she didn't necessarily say this to me, but she pretty much did. You missed the opportunity to stare at the family just to make the lady lose her crap in public. Earlier today, I was waiting for the bus. This guy that lives in my neighborhood, as far as I can tell, there's something wrong with him. Says car. I shrugged at him, and he says car, then started pointing at a car parked in front of his house. So, confused, I said bus, and pointed at the bus coming down the street. He went back in his house. Years ago I was in a White Hen convenience store, since acquired by 7/11, and I had a pack of Marlboros in one hand and a donut in the other as I headed toward the door after paying. A woman coming in looked at what I had and said, "Jesus loves you, but you hold the devil in your hand." I stopped to digest what she said and then threw the donut to the floor, stepped on it and screamed, "To heck with the spawn of Satan." She was mortified. The ent behind the counter almost peed himself laughing. I got free donuts whenever he was working from then on. I was once at Goodwill looking at the shirts and I saw a t-shirt that I thought my sister might like. She's smaller than me. The lady near me looked at me disapprovingly and was like, no no no, sweetie, that won't fit you. Absolutely not. One had a customer, I work retail, demand I look at her friend's boobs 4 separate times while helping them. Honestly, they were not even that great. I can really only judge them by touch, or it's really hard to tell with her shirt and bra covering them. When I was little, I was shopping with my mum and some woman came out of nowhere, stroked my head and proclaimed that my hair was such a lovely color. She'd love to shave it all off and keep it in a box. I've seen her around a few times since then. B acts like nothing ever happened. I had nightmares of crazy hair stealing witches for months. You have been visited by the romantic doggo. Comment love is magic so you never fall in the friend zone. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.